the stream. Currently loading onto the channel as I speak. Audio is working as it should. That's good. The stream's up, the chat's up. We're all good to go. That is absolutely fantastic. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to round 4 of the PlayStation Americas series here on Race Spec Esports. I'm Lane Everingham, your commentator for this event, and this time we're racing at the brand new Miami International Autodrome for the Miami Grand Prix. The most recent addition to the Formula One world, Miami is a 3.36 mile, 19 turn circuit that takes place around the Hard Rock Stadium located within the suburb of Miami Gardens. Oh, conditions are definitely interesting out on track. The circuit itself features a wide variety of unique bends designed to test the drivers to the very limit. The main areas of concern will be the high-speed sweepers and bends within the first sector, and the tight Mickey Mouse section created by turns 12 through 16 in the middle sector. The circuit also consists of 3 DRS zones. The first leads down the main straightaway into turn 1, the second leads up to turn 11, and the final leads down the huge straight into the incredibly tight hairpin of turn 17. These 3 DRS zones will most likely prove to be the best overtaking spots for both races. That's right, this round at Miami will be the first sprint round of the championship. Qualifying will determine the grid for the sprint. The top 10 from the sprint race will score points. First place getting 10 points, second getting 9, all the way down to 10th place getting a single point. And the results from that sprint race will determine the starting order for the main race. So there are plenty of points to play for here in Miami. But before we focus on what should be an interesting qualifying session, there is a bit of news to go through first from last week's race in Monza. A few incident reports, first of all involving Refixer and Motion God. The result from that was no further action. Now, one of the biggest incidents we had was on the final lap between Axis and Nico, where Axis was taken out by Nico at the Della Roggia chicane, and the steward's verdict was a 10-second time penalty and 1 penalty point for Nico, so he doesn't end up winning the Italian Grand Prix. There was also an incident that we caught on stream between Guitar Hero and JBH at Parabolica, the final turn at Monza, where Guitar Hero was put into the barrier and ultimately retired from the race. The steward's verdict was a 5-second time penalty and 5 penalty points for JBH. And there's also one final incident involving Blockman, the man on screen. He tried to get a penalty removed. He wasn't able to do so. So, in the final classifications for the Italian Grand Prix, the person who ended up winning was KD 1997. For McLaren, taking his first win of the season. JBH ended up finishing second, and third was Rafa in the Williams. He takes his first podium of the season. Captain Schmeg ended up finishing P4, and our former winner Nico ended up taking 5th. Everyone else below the top 5, the positions don't change. And unfortunately for JBH, you can see he's still in pit lane, and that's because he's accumulated 4 penalty points, and as a result, he has to serve a qualifying ban for this event here at Miami. In the Drivers' Championship, Nico is still leading the way on 76 points. Second is JBH on 50. Mighty Wombat is next on 49, followed by Rafa on 39. Then Easy Rider rounds out the top 5 on 38. Next is KD on 36, followed by Axis on 29, Captain Schmeg on 28, SC Collider in the Alpine is P9 on 23, then Hash in the Ferrari rounds out the top 10 on 18 points. In the Constructors, McLaren are leading on 85 points, followed by AlphaTauri on 76. Mercedes and Williams are currently equal 4th, both on 67 points. Next is Red Bull on 41, followed by Aston Martin on 37, Ferrari on 31, then Alpine on 28, Haas on 9, and Alfa Romeo rounds out the top 10 on 4 points. as Rafa has just set the benchmark time of 1 minute 41.558, as I think Blockman just went into the wall there. Down the long straightaway, heading towards turn 17. He's currently on a flying lap, and it's looked pretty tidy thus far. I've got a weather report from KD as well. As you can see, we've got wet weather conditions for qualifying. We will have wet weather conditions for the sprint. So that's going to be a very interesting first race here at Miami. But it should be dry for the main race, which I'm sure a lot of drivers are looking forward to those dry conditions. But that's the introductions out of the way. We can now focus on qualifying, as we've got a few drivers coming towards the end of their first flying laps, just trying to gauge the conditions out on track. As you can see, drivers are using the full wet weather tyre for this qualifying session, and it doesn't appear that the conditions are easing up, as Blacks has a bit of a moment through turn 18. He will complete his first flying lap to set a 43.4, goes 8th quickest with that time. Axis has invalidated this flying lap. Is he going to have another go? He is going to have another go. Tell you what, we're right on board with the Aston Martin driver, as he has a bit of a sketchy moment through turn 19. Give you a guided tour of this very tricky 3.3 mile racetrack. Into turn 1, 4th gear down to 3rd gear. He'll short shift to 4th. Now into the incredibly tricky traction zone of turns 2 and 3. This section is incredibly dangerous in the dry. In the wet, Axis has spun out into the wall, demonstrating perfectly how difficult that traction zone is at turn 3. It is insanely difficult. And Axis, he was only a little bit caught out, but with these wet weather conditions, that little mistake turns into a big one. And he's now out of qualifying and will most likely start from the back. Hash is out of qualifying as well. Terminal damage, I would guess. So he will more than likely start from the back too, as Black Baller completes a lap at 55.2. He sets off on another. Tell you what, we're right on board. See if we can get one full tour of the racetrack. Short shifting up to 6th gear through turn 2. Around turn 3, you can see Black Baller has very little traction. It's almost as if he's driving on ice as he makes his way out of turn 3. Into the S section, turns 4 into 5. And now the triple left-hander of turn 6, 7 and 8. Now it's important that you get a nice run out of turn 8 so you can maximise the top speed through this following flat-out section. Currently up by 1.5 seconds as KD improves to set a 40.8. Around turn 10, the left-hander, then up towards turn 11. One of the better overtaking spots on the circuit. Deep on the brakes here, bringing it down to 3rd gear. Missing the apex by quite a lot, but I don't blame him. These conditions are incredibly difficult. Around turn 12, then up towards turn 13, then into this incredibly tricky chicane of 14 and 15. You can see Black Baller having to clobber over the curbs. That's what you have to do on this racetrack. You have to maximise the full width of the circuit. Out of turn 16, down this long back straightaway, you would open DRS here as you head down towards turn 17, the biggest braking zone on the racetrack. Entry speed 208 miles an hour, braking at the 100 meter board, bringing it down to 3rd gear, hitting the apex at just over 35 miles an hour as Nico improves to a 40.7. He takes pole position away from KD as Black Baller will cross the line to set a 44.2, stays 11th quickest but does improve by 11 seconds to set a more competitive lap time. Rebellion getting out of the way. Renner Jr. on an out lap getting ready. Captain Schmeg on a flying lap as Guitar Hero has left the session. Captain Schmeg meanwhile making his way out to turn 16. Now it's down this long straightaway towards turn 17. The clock says... oh, well, of course it doesn't say anything. He hasn't set a flying lap yet. But his top speed isn't anywhere near as impressive as Black Baller. Black Baller was hitting about 208 miles an hour into turn 17. Captain Schmeg was just about hitting 200 as he has an awful time coming around turn 18. Around the final corner to cross the line, it's a 41.3, jumps up to P4 with that lap time. Mighty Wombat on a flying lap, making his way through the S section here, turns 4, 5 and 6. Hovering the accelerator, just feathering it, trying to desperately try and find traction. KD just behind, making his way through the S section around turn 5 into turn 6 and into turn 7 and 8. We'll head up towards the first sector split. Mighty Wombat is well down, so he's not pushing on this lap. He's on an in-lap, it would seem. KD, are you pushing? Let's see. I didn't get the first sector split, but he isn't using battery, so it would appear he's not pushing. As Nico crosses the line to improve to a 40.373. He's currently got pole position by just under half a second over KD 1997. So Nico has got some serious pace here at Miami. Going to be tough to try and beat our championship leader at this stage of qualifying. Renner Jr. has crashed out, it seems. That's at turn 5. You can see the Ferrari. He's hit the wall on the right-hand side of the circuit, destroying the front left of the car. So both Ferraris are out of qualifying for this Miami Grand Prix. They will be starting from the back. Not the best place to start here at Miami. It's a very tight, twisty circuit. There are opportunities to try and make passes, such as here at turn 11. But for the rest of the racetrack, you sort of just have to follow the car in front of you. It's generally really tough to make passes here. Rebellion making his way through the Mickey Mouse section. You want to push that, buddy? Definitely saving batteries. KD's retired. He's crashed out of qualifying. At turn 3, no less. He's put it into the wall on the inside of the racetrack. So KD, he's currently P2 with a 40.8, and that's the best he can hope for at the end of this session. He has thrown it away at turn 3, a very similar accident to Axis at the beginning of qualifying. Really is demonstrating perfectly just how tricky these conditions are and how tricky this track is, as Blacks has had a moment, it seems, through this first sector. Yellow flags were brought out. Can't see any damage on the Red Bull, so I'm guessing he was just driving slowly. Maybe lost the back end heading through the first sector. But no, that's a massive blow for KD. Unable to challenge for pole now. The best he can hope for is P2. As Shiznit's making his way through the chicane of 14 and 15 and around the very important left-hander of turn 16. It's important that you get the exit right so you can maximize the top speed down this straight. And Shiznit is currently up by half a second. With that sort of improvement, he can go up to 4th position, overtaking Captain Schmeg. But he needs to get this final sector spot on. Hard on the brakes, bringing it down to 2nd gear, down to 1st gear even. Back on the accelerator, utilising the traction control that he's got turned on. Around turn 18, around the final corner of 19, Shiznit will cross the line to jump up to P5 with a 41.162. The man in 4th place now is Blockman in the Haas. He's crept into the 1 minute 40s with a 1 minute 40.982. The next car in front of him, who is Mighty Wombat, is only 300ths in front. So he doesn't need to improve by much to take P3 away from the McLaren driver. But Wombat is on an outlap. He's getting ready for this final phase of qualifying. So is Nico, our current pole sitter, as Guitar Hero has rejoined the session. Down towards turn 11 for Blockman. Hard on the brakes, bringing it down to 3rd gear, down to 2nd gear. Feathers the accelerator out of 11 through turn 12. See there, very gentle inputs on the telemetry. 3rd gear through turn 13 into 14 and 15. 2nd gear, just a slight dab on the brakes as he went through 15. 1st gear around turn 16. Then bringing it up through the gears nice and gently. Eventually hitting full throttle. And he's currently up by just under half a second. Now, the gap between Blockman and Nico is about 6/10. So if he can find another 2/10 in this final sector, he might be able to take pole away from our championship leader. Out of turn 17, nice and steady. No hint of oversteer whatsoever from Blockman. Around the final corner now, turn 19, crosses the line and does indeed jump up to pole. And a happy little wiggle there from Blockman as well as he head down the main straightaway. Nico, meanwhile, he's making his way out of turn 17. Around turn 18. Actually, no, he's going into pit lane. So maybe he damaged his car on an outlap. I'm not sure. Oh, it's Wombat's on the intermediate tyre. That's why he's going in. Is it time for inters? A few drivers have elected to put the tyre on. First sector says for Wombat, he was up by 2/10, but he invalidated through the first sector. So I'm guessing it is time for the intermediates. And as you can see, the rain, it might be a bit lighter. Not a massive amount lighter. Maybe a bit. As you can see, who is that? Alfa Romeo getting out of the way. Is that Motion God? Yeah, it is Motion God. Just trying to get out of the way. Or is he... he was sliding his way through turn 12 there. Caught it nicely, though. Sir Jay getting ready. He's on the intermediate tyre, making his way down towards turn 17. Rebellion is out on track on a set of wets. Collider in a similar boat as well. So both Alpines taking the more conservative approach on the wet weather tyre. Guitar Hero getting ready as well, making his way through the first sector as Captain Schmeg is being held by his teammate. Oh dear. It might be quali over for Captain Schmeg. It's going to take a little while to go into the garage, thanks to him being held as Mighty Wombat takes off down the main straight towards turn 1. On the inter tyre, down to second gear. Back on the accelerator nice and gently. Short shifting up to 4th. Through turn 2, short shifting to 5th. Around turn 3, where his teammate lost it. He almost did the same, but he caught it quite nicely. As Blockman goes into the pits with just over 2 minutes left. Might be qualifying over for him. Might. We'll have to wait and see. Around turn 6. Up towards 7 and 8 for Mighty Wombat. Coming out to the left-hander. Now down this flat-out section. And he's currently down by 1/10 of a second to the first sector. And I reckon he lost the majority of that time through turn 3. Up towards turn 11. Big braking zone here. Entering in at 205 miles an hour. Brings it down to third gear. Hitting the apex at about 50 miles an hour. Around turn 12. Second gear. Short shifting to third. Desperately trying to find traction. Around turn 13. Up into the chicane of 14 and 15. Second gear. Feathering the accelerator. Around turn 16. Now he's heading up towards the second sector split. The clock says he's up by just under 2/10 of a second. Yellow flags are out in front as well. Is that Shizant? It is. Shizant has run out of fuel. Wombat is on... Oh, actually, Wombat has backed out of the lap. He's going to cool the tyres down and have another go. Nico out on track now. He's on the intermediate tyre. And he'll get one run on those inters as well. As you can see, we have just under a minute left in qualifying. Blockman is still in the pit, so it's qualifying over for the Harsh driver. He's currently on pole position, but two guys are out there on the intermediate tyre, and it does seem to be the tyre to be on in these conditions. It's just a matter of can they string the lap together and not invalidate as Black Baller retires in pit lane. His qualifying session is over. He's P13 at the moment. Through the S section, turns 4, 5 and 6. Fourth gear for Wombat as he heads into turn 6. Short shifting to 5th. Modulating the throttle nicely. No obvious hints of oversteer from the McLaren. So he's kept the car under control and he's still down to the first sector by a 10th. Nico, meanwhile, making his way through the first sector. Around turn 4, into turn 5, then turn 6. So now the clock has reached 0. This is everyone's final flying laps in qualifying. First sector says for Nico, he's down by 71 thousandths to the first sector. Wombat making his way around turn 12 into turn 13. Up towards the chicane of 14 and 15. Second gear, feathering the throttle nicely. No oversteer whatsoever. As Collider, I believe, has just improved to P6 with a 41.2. As Wombat's up by half a second to the middle sector. Blacks has retired as well in the pit lane. His session is done. He's P12 at the moment. down this long straightaway towards turn 17. Big braking zone here, brings it down to second gear. Does he hit the apex? He most certainly does. Fourth gear on the exit, finding a lovely amount of traction around turn 18. He loses control and throws the lap away. It was looking like a potential pole if he strung it together, but no, he threw it away at turn 18. Nico has invalidated as well. Only one other driver's on a flying lap, and that's Rafa. He's up by 1.5 seconds to the middle sector. Could this be a surprise pole position for the Brazilian? He comes out of 17, around turn 18. One corner remains for Rafa as he heads up towards the line. It's pole position for Rafa. 1 minute 40.138. He snatches it right at the death of qualifying. How about that? Haha. Not much separating the top two at the end, but wow. What an end to qualifying. He got his first podium last week at Monza for season 7. He's just snagged pole position. Well done. Everyone else made mistakes at the end of qualifying. Rafa, though, put the lap together. The only driver to put a lap together on the intermediate tyre. And he's put it on pole. Next to him will be Blockman, who put a very nice time together on the wet weather tyre. He will start P2. Nico will start P3, our championship leader. KD's next in P4, then Mighty Wombat P5, Shizen P6, Collider in 7th, then Captain Schmeg. Guitar Hero 9th and Rebellion rounds out the top 10. Sir Jake P11 followed by Blacks in 12th, Black Baller in 13th, Motion God in 14th, then Hash, JBH, Axis and Renner Jr. not setting lap times. JBH had a qualifying ban he had to serve, but Hash, Axis and Renner Jr. all had accidents during qualifying and weren't able to set a flying lap. Now it's time for the sprint, and according to KD, it should be wet weather conditions for that. So the drama is definitely not going to stop here at Miami. Now, I commentated Elite Series. It was a wet weather sprint for that as well, and it proved to be an interesting sprint. Drivers were really going at it on the early laps, and we had some interesting battles in the remaining laps. So hopefully that's also replicated here in the America Series. Now, it's going to be a 10-lap sprint, so it's relatively short. Still, though, you have to be fully focused, especially in wet weather conditions around this circuit. It is very tricky. It appears to be intermediate conditions as well. The rain doesn't appear to be as heavy. And also, if you look in Black Baller's garage, who was the first garage for Mercedes-Benz, you can see the intermediate tyre just laying there in the garage. So it appears it is intermediate conditions for the start of the sprint race. Now, drivers will be fine-tuning their setups for the start, maybe changing their tyre pressures a little bit here and there, changing their front wing. Of course, in this game now, after the most recent update, there's a glitch with Parc Ferme where it doesn't work correctly, so drivers could, if they really wanted to, change from a dry to a wet setup and vice versa, if they really, really wanted to. And there's no real way we could police it either. But that's a glitch in the game. Even if you got Parc Ferme turned on, it doesn't actually work. So that's great. But no, surprise pole position from Rafa. He'll be starting right at the very front of the field. Good on him. That's a pretty cool thing to see. Blockman from P2. Nico P3. All of these guys are on the intermediate tyre. No one on the wet weather tyre. So this should be just a straightforward race between everybody, as Motion God's disqualified himself from the session. To note as well, seeing as I've mentioned him, Motion God now has a full-time seat with Alfa Romeo, so that's pretty cool. A lot of the guys in the Discord were pretty rapt for him that he's got a full-time seat. But yeah, not the best of starts, disqualifying himself on the formation lap. By doing that, you sort of compromise yourself with tyre temps, which are a really important detail in this game. So you need to try and get your tyres up to a working temperature range and keep them there. Contact! What's happening here? Why is everybody checked up? Rafa's checked up. Blockman and Nico have collided. They've disqualified themselves from the formation lap. So has Collider and Schmeg. But yeah, Rafa, for some reason, came to a dead stop. Blockman checked up. And then Nico hit the back of Blockman. And I think the same story happened with Collider, Schmeg and Rebellion. So yeah, a bit of a mess on this formation lap. I'm sure a lot of drivers aren't too happy about that. I certainly wouldn't be, as a driver. Now, we'll get rid of the tyre graphic. We don't need it. We'll just keep the interval graphic up. But yeah, we'll run through the rest of the order. So we had the top three. Then it's the two McLarens, KD and Mighty Wombat, P4 and 5. Shizant, nice qualifying from him, P6. Collider and Schmeg next in P7 and 8. Then Guitar Hero. Rebellion rounds out the 10. Then we got Sir Jake, Blacks, Black Baller, Motion God, who was on the grid. Then we got Hash, JBH, Axis, and Renner Jr. You would think from JBH's point of view, he'd be starting from the very back after a qualifying ban. But he's not starting from the very back. He's 16th. He's got two cars behind him in the form of Axis and Renner Jr. Right. Leaders are lined up. A bit prematurely, thanks to what happened in the middle of the lap. But everyone will be lining up into their respective grid slots and we'll get this race underway. The first ever sprint race for the America Series, and it's at an American racetrack. So how is this going to go down? Just waiting on Renner to line up into his slot. There we are. So all 18 cars are lined up, ready to go. We got Rafa on pole position. Blockman alongside. We've got 10 red lights. And the sprint race is underway here at Miami. And it's a nice start from Blockman. He'll have the inside line down to turn 1. Rafa tries to cover. But here goes Nico. Round the outside, contact between Rafa and Nico. Through turn 1, into turn 2, Nico tries to fight, Rafa leaves him room, heading around turn 3, Nico goes round the outside to take the lead, coming out of the right-hand sweeper. Rafa's down to second, Blockman third, then Mighty Wombat. KD's had a shocking start, he's down to 8th position, side by side. JBH is in P7, what a blinding start from JBH, how on earth has he pulled that off? He's gone from 16th up to 7th. Out to turn 8, up towards turns 9 and 10. I think the early race drama has gotten out of the way. Everyone has filed themselves into a position, get themselves comfortable for this race. Going to be a very tricky one. Guitar Hero trying to line up a move on Shizant here down the inside at turn 11. Can't quite get it done. And Shizant will have the inside line here at turn 12. Captain Schmeg wants to get involved in the Williams, but he can't find a way through just yet as they head up towards the chicane of turns 14 and 15. They get through relatively unscathed to midfield. Nicely done from everybody involved. Keeping out of the trouble, which is a really important thing. So KD, shocking start. Down 4 places, I believe. Yep, down 4. Look at JBH up 9. Black's a great start as well, up 6 from 12th position. And he's trying to go for one more on Collider. Wasn't quite close enough to make the move stick. But yeah, I would love to know how on earth did JBH move from 16th to 7th. Oh, and Blacks has a moment and a half. And through goes JBH into P6. So on one lap, JBH has made up 10 places. What a start. Ha ha. Everyone else, though, doing all right, keeping out of trouble. Everyone's still running, which is a really important thing. As Blacks brings out yellows, I think he's made a mistake. Drops down to 10th position. No obvious damage on the Red Bull, from what I can tell. Yeah, his front wing looks okay, rear wing looks okay, but he's now down to 10th. Out of turn 8, heading down towards the flat out turns of 9 and 10. See Shizant trying to move around the racetrack, trying to break the slipstream. Guitar Hero following like a shadow. He won't be close enough to dive bomb here into turn 11. Or as Captain Schmeg and Blacks battle for position. Schmeg with the inside line at 11. That turns to the outside, and that's a problem as Blacks keeps P10. Captain Schmeg trying to fight, but he has to yield and stay in P11. So Jake watching along behind in P12 in the Alfa Romeo. Behind him is Black Baller and Rebellion. But yeah, this is currently the tightest battle on track as of right now. Because out in front, we've got a battle, I suppose, between Collider and JBH. But JBH has got a bit of work to do. Mighty Wombat is fairly close to Blockman, but not close enough to battle. Blockman's got a bit of a gap to Rafa, who has a bit of a gap to Nico, our current race leader, who is setting fastest laps out there. 1 minute 39.892. Rafa trying to keep the fight alive in P2. Sector 3 yellows. It is Captain Schmeg in the Williams spinning out. He rejoins down in 17th position, and through goes Motion God, demoting Schmeg to last. Nico holding his own out in front. Rafa in P2, 1.5 seconds behind. Then Blockman, who is steadily losing time to the top 2. Bit of understeer there from Blockman at turn 8. Sparks flying there as he runs over the curb. Mighty Wombat has closed in. Through turn 9, into turn 10. Wombat having to look around the long way. Here we go, up towards turn 11. It's not a bad idea to try and overtake around the outside here at turn 11. If you can hold that outside line, but Wombat was not able to hold the outside line. Because if you hold the outside line at turn 11, it turns into the inside at turn 12. You can make the move stick. As Rebellion and Black Baller are battling, it seems. Rebellion's moved down to 14th position, having been overtaken by Axis. Down the straightaway towards turn 17. Wombat following in the slipstream. He will not gain enough time to try and attack Blockman into turn 17. You can see Collider, JBH and KD doing the same thing as well. KD trying to move around, trying to distract JBH, but the Mercedes driver remains unfazed. Shizant in PA trying to hold off Guitar Hero. Axis getting by Black Baller. That's at the entry to turn 17, so he moves into P12. See Rebellion just behind, same with Renner Jr. in the Ferrari. So Axis not a bad start. After 4 laps, he's up 5 positions from P17. So he's clawing his way towards the top 10. Sir Jake, a bit of understeer there at turn 2. He's compromised through turn 3 and loses time to Blacks. It was the driver, the last point scoring driver in the field. Top 10 will score points in this sprint, of course. Blacks is currently holding that 10th spot pretty nicely. Guitar Hero trying to apply pressure to Shizant. He's not close enough. Speaking of close enough, here comes Mighty Wombat. This time he looks to the inside here, heading down towards turn 11. He gets in front, but how committed will Blockman be on the outside? He's trying to fight the Haas driver. It turns to the inside here at turn 12. They're side by side. Contact, I believe, between the two cars. Blockman still trying to fight. Same with Mighty Wombat as they head into the chicane. It's tight and Wombat gets in front. It's really, really tough to drive side by side through that section. Somebody had to yield and was Blockman at the end of the day. But Blockman, he can't get too upset about it. He needs to stay focused, try and catch up to Wombat if he can. Drag race on between JBH and Collider as they head down towards the hairpin of turn 17. Collider has the inside line. He pulls the car up nicely, but JBH gets nice traction out of the hairpin. They fight side by side through turn 18, and with the inside line, JBH keeps P5, but Collider, he had a run, but unfortunately JBH was right in front of him, couldn't really commit to a move as KD, hits JBH off the circuit there. KD overshooting turn 1 by quite a bit, it seems. He hit JBH after turn 1. Fortunately for the cars involved, there wasn't anything major to come from it. I can't see any front wing damage on KD's car either. Oh, he's trying to look to the inside here at turn 8. They're side by side. Wheel to wheel contact as Collider hangs on to position. Up towards turn 9. Then into the flat-out left-hander of turn 10. KD looking left and right. And now Shizant is starting to get involved. Looking around the outside. Heading up towards turn 11. You need to be committed under brakes. And KD most certainly is. He'll get in front of Collider. And move into P6 at turn 12. So Jake and Axis battling for position through turn 12. Heading up towards turn 13. They're side by side still. Or Axis forcing Jake a little bit wide there. But the gamesmanship. Jake trying to cut turn 15 there. Trying to get back at him. Some interesting battling going on. It's very tough to drive side by side through that S section. Really, really tough. Drivers have done a pretty good job thus far. Guitar Hero trying to have a look, but doesn't commit to the move. Stays in P9. Now KD has to try and catch up to JVH. He's built a 1.4 second margin over the McLaren driver. KD, though, he'll have his sights set on the car in front. He'll try and close in. Meanwhile, Nico doing a great job out in front, as he usually does. Keeps out of trouble. Just keeps driving well. He's got 5.7 seconds to Rafa, who must have made a mistake. Rafa had a pretty decent gap to Mighty Wombat. He now doesn't have that gap. Wombat is right on his gearbox, heading out to turn 8. The battle's on now for P2 on track. Rafa in a bit of trouble. Wombat not using any battery through this section, just following in the slipstream, but he naturally has better straight line speed, as Captain Schmed gets a 3-second time penalty. Wombat braking early, heading into turn 11. Rafa overshooting the corner a little bit, but he should be able to hang on to P2 through this section. Through turn 13, into 14. Oh, oversteer there as he rides awkwardly over the curb. Around turn 16, Sparks flying again. Down there straight away, Rafa gets really nice drive out of 16. See Wombat trying to follow in the slipstream as Rafa moves to the inside, desperately trying to break the toe. Down towards turn 17. Wombat closes in by just a little here and there, just a little bit of time. Speaking of closing in, Guitar Hero trying to look down the inside here, heading into turn 17. They're side by side heading into the hairpin, but Shizant hangs on to position, and Axis appears to have moved into the top 10, overtaking Blacks. So a nice... Oh, as Blacks has a moment again at turn 18. Loses a little bit of time. Now 8/10 behind the Aston Martin driver. But no, a nice recovery from Axis. He's now in the points, inside the top 10. Nice drive indeed. Mighty Wombat really applying pressure here to Rafa as he looks to the inside here at turn 7. He gets in front of the Brazilian and he's into P2. A fine move indeed. Demonstrating how much grip he has in the corners compared to Rafa. But what's Rafa's straight line speed like? Around turn 10, up towards turn 11, Rafa isn't really closing in. In fact, he's losing time to Mighty Wombat heading into turn 11. So it seems that Wombat has got the measure over the Williams driver. So long as he keeps it nice and tidy, he should take P2. Blockman making his way through the chicane. He'll have his priorities set on the car in front, but he has to be mindful of the charging Mercedes behind. JVH having the sprint race of the season. Up 11 positions so far, and I'm sure he'd like a few more. Down towards turn 17. Lockman not close enough to attack here. Sparks flying as they enter the corner. Around turn 18, the penultimate turn around the racetrack. Now around the final corner, turn 19. These fellas will now begin lap 8. They have got 3 laps to go. Into turn 1. You can see KD just behind as well. 1.3 seconds behind. So the battle's on. Oh, as Rafa has a bit of a moment through 2. Heading around turn 3. And this is where Mighty Wombat just chewed up Rafa through this first sector. Can Blockman do the same? Through turn 4. Into turn 5. You can see the understeer that Blockman is having to deal with. I'm not sure. He might have damage on that car. Potentially. There was a fair bit of scrapping going on the first lap. He might actually have damage. We'll have to wait and see. JVH just behind. KD closing in. Around turn 10, up towards turn 11. Blockman just keeping up with Rafa at the moment. Not closing in by too much. As they head around turn 11. Into turn 12. Then around turn 13 and up towards the chicane. of 14 and 15. See, they're cutting plenty of the racetrack using the full width of the circuit. Now around turn 16, the critical turn 16. Blockman gets nice drive out to turn 16. He needed that. He's closing in on Rafa. He's in the slipstream. And look at the pace advantage he's got. 4 tenths, 3.5 tenths, 3 tenths as they head into the braking zone. Deep on the brakes, too deep. Blockman runs wide. Runs very wide. But doesn't lose too much time with that mistake. He's still within a second of Rafa. Oh, it's Shizant. What's happened to Shizant? He's in the wall. That's at the end. That's on the inside of turn 17. How on earth has he done that? Well, he's now in 13th position. He lets Rebellion by. And he's got front wing damage. He's missing an end plate on the left-hand side. What a blow. JBH closing in on Blockman. KD now 2.9 seconds behind. He's made a mistake. He was closing in on JBH. He's now 2.6 seconds behind, and he's 1 second in front of Collider. But now KD, he's gathered himself up. He's now pulling away from the Alpine driver. And Blockman appears to be pulling away from JBH. As Captain Schmag has overtaken Black Ball, and that is for 15th position. Around the chicane, turns 14 and 15, up towards 16. JBH is steadily losing time, but I don't think he'd be too concerned right now. He'll take this recovery that he's made. Qualifying band started 16th. He's currently P11. He's currently 11 places up in P5. Axis also a fantastic recovery after what happened during qualifying. He's currently P8 up 9 positions as Mighty Wombat sets a fastest lap. I should note as well, drivers do not get a bonus point for fastest lap in the sprint. You only get points for position. You will be able to score a point for fastest lap though during the main race. Now everyone driving pretty well at the moment, but nobody can get close to this man out in front. Just been a winning machine in this America Series, and it took an incident at Monza to take him off the top step of the podium. And although it's not technically a race win, it's still a win regardless in the sprint, and it's 10 points next to his name. It will extend his championship lead. All he needs to do is get through this Mickey Mouse section and get through the final sector unscathed. It should be a comfortable sprint race win. Around turn 16 and heading onto the main, onto the long straightaway. Bit of a wiggle there, maybe a happy wiggle. Just appreciating the fact that he's driven quite well. Got to the front, built a margin, drove just very consistently. Didn't put a foot wrong. Around turn 17 and around turn 18, one corner remains for Nico, and he's done it. Nico will be our first ever America Series sprint race winner, and he gets fastest lap to boot. Mighty Wombat P2, and Rafa will complete the podium in third. Blockman P4, but the driver of the race, I'd have to say, is JBH. How he's made up 11 places in a wet weather sprint, I do not know. KD P6, Collider in 7th. Yellow flags are out. That might be Rebellion. Oh, no, sorry. It's actually Blacks. Crashing at the line there. Deary me. But yeah, JBH up 11 places. KD P6, Collider 7th. Axis, awesome drive as well. Reaching the top 10, scoring some very crucial points. Double points for Aston Martin with Guitar Hero in 9th. Blacks rounds out to 10. Look at this. We got a car park down the main straightaway. Few drivers deciding to crash out at the end there. JBH given driver of the day for this performance in the sprint. Driver of the sprint, I think it should be called. Yeah, fair enough. So, in the results, Nico victorious by 4.5 seconds over Mighty Wombat. Rafa will finish P3 in front of Blockman. JBH rounds out the top 5. KD, probably not having the race he was looking for, finishes P6. Collider in 7th. Awesome drive, as I mentioned before, by Axis to finish in P8 after starting 17th. Guitar Hero in 9th. Blacks rounds out the 10. So Jake P11, followed by Rebellion, Shizant, Renner Jr., Captain Schmeg, Hash, Black Baller, and Motion God at the back. Alright. Sprint out of the way. It's now time for the main race. Hopefully we'll get a timer soon informing us of the change to the main race. Yeah, no. It's nice as well that they give us the overall points for the weekend as well. Just got to note though, when it doesn't score 8 for Race Spec, it's 10. Then 9, 8, etc., all the way down to 1. Well, it's still on this screen, which is a tad bit concerning. Why haven't we moved on yet? Just quickly check Discord. Rightio. Yeah, the drivers in the Discord were just discussing Parc Ferme. It's a glitch in the game. It's so cool. Like, you turn Parc Ferme on and it doesn't work. And as KD mentioned at the beginning of the stream, as he mentioned to me, dry conditions for the main race. And this will actually prove to be an interesting one in terms of strategy. Because of how it works in the sprint race format, in a normal Grand Prix format, you get 4 sets of softs, 1 set of mediums, and 1 set of hards. In a sprint race format, you get 3 sets of softs, 2 sets of mediums, and 1 set of hards. So what will the drivers do today? And something that I've noted from the races that we've done here on Race Spec, here at Miami, the medium tire lasts an eternity. So they can do upwards of about 20 laps, and it's a 29 lap race here at Miami. So you could try and make a soft medium or medium soft work if you really want to try it. Or you could try to do 50-50, mediums to hards. Or alternatively, if the race is truly that bonkers, could try a 2-stopper. The pit lane here isn't incredibly long. It's definitely one of the shorter pit lanes we got in the game. So it'll be interesting to see what the drivers do in terms of strategy. But as of right now, let's see what they're on. Okay, it's an even mix from the looks of things. So we got Nico starting from pole position on the medium compound tyre. Wombat starting P2 on the hards. Rafa P3 on the mediums. Blockman P4 on the hards. JBH P5 on the mediums. KD P6 on the hard tyre. So we got one row starting on mediums, the other row, or rather one column starting on mediums, the other column starting on hards. But then it's suddenly broken with Collider. Oh, as Blacks and Jake have come together on the formation lap, they've both been disqualified. So yeah, Collider starting on the hard compound tyre in P7, Axis starting on the mediums in P8, his teammate Guitar Hero is doing the same in P9. Then Blacks and Jake are starting P10 and 11, they're back on the grid, they're both starting on the hard tyre. Rebellion P12 is starting on the mediums, Shizant and Renner Jr., they're starting on the hard tyre. Captain Schmeg, P15 is starting on the mediums, Hash and Black Baller are starting on the hard tyres, and Motion God starting from the very back in 18th position on the medium compound tyre. So we got 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 9 drivers on the mediums. That means 9 drivers on the hards. It's quite literally a 50-50 split. That's pretty cool to see. Rightio. See the drivers furiously moving about the racetrack, desperately trying to get temperature into their tyres. As I mentioned earlier, tyre temperatures is such an important detail, as Captain Schmeg and Renner Jr. have been disqualified as well, I've just noticed. But yeah, tyre temperature is such an important factor in races now, especially after an update where they changed how tyre pressures worked in the game. So you got to be incredibly careful with your tyre temps. But yeah, you can go through the cars that are on the grid, don't worry. You don't have to drive around them. As Nico will line up from pole position. He gets it pulled up nicely. Rafa just behind Mighty Wombat, starting P2. He's on the hard tyre, and he's on the dirty side of the racetrack, so theoretically he shouldn't get a great start. But everyone's now lined up, ready to race here at Miami for the second time. We got 10 red lights. And the main race is underway. It's a nice start from Rafa in P3. It's disqualified from the session. Axis reversed off the start line. He is out of the race. A mistake from Axis. He was in reverse and he drove backwards from the start. He has been disqualified. But it's JBH who leads the way. Nico has dropped all the way down to 7th while I was talking about what happened to Axis. Nico has had a shocking start. JBH is our race leader, and then it's Wombat and KD, Blockman in 4th, then Guitar Hero, Nico in P6, then Rafa, Collider's next, then Rebellion. Blacks will round out the top 10. What on earth happened to the top 3? It's been shifted around quite dramatically as Guitar Hero is on the attack, trying to get by Blockman in the Haas. Heading up to turn 11 now. Blockman has the inside line, but Guitar Hero swoops around the long way. That turns to the inside at turn 12, and he gets in front into P4. Now Blockman's in trouble. He's got Nico all over him, but Nico has to yield heading into the chicane. So Blockman will hang on to P5. No obvious damage on Nico's car. Similar story with Rafa, who puts it into the wall. He's out of the race. He's out. After a superb qualifying and a pretty decent sprint race, he's thrown it away in the main race. There we go. We got a virtual safety car out. That's not my call to make, Axis, unfortunately. That is completely down to the lead coordinator as Nico goes into pit lane. Yeah, that's not my call to make. Front wing change for Nico as he moves onto the hard tyre. Shizen's in as well. So is Black Baller, repairing their damaged cars. JVH, how on earth did he get to first? I was too busy looking at the midfield trying to work out what was going on. I didn't even realise there was drama at the front. And now we're back on the green flag racing. That was tight. That was seriously tight between KD and Guitar Hero. And the Aston Martin's on the attack. He draws alongside, gets in front of KD. KD, though, drives it into the wall. Goes straight on. At turn 11. Broke incredibly deep and used all of the runoff area and put it into the wall. What? What on earth happened there? Collider. He's made a mistake at turn 16. I have a feeling somebody else was probably involved in that incident. As Hash is under attack here from Captain Schmeg. Rebellion closing up on Blockman as well. Not by enough to attack though. Captain Schmeg trying to find a way by Hash here. Looking around the outside at turn 17. As DRS is now enabled. Contact between the two cars as they head around turn 18. Captain Schmeg trying to draw alongside. Can't do it as they head around the final corner. Back onto the main straightaway. Captain Schmeg in the slipstream. Doesn't close in by enough to attack into turn 1. Motion God just hovering behind as KD goes into the pits. I have absolutely no idea why he went straight on like that. He went so far into the braking zone, he actually crashed into the far wall. at the hairpin. I have absolute... He outbroke himself and then some. I have absolutely no idea what happened there. Down towards turns 9 and 10. Hash is in trouble here. Captain Schmeg and Motion God are closing in. Here comes Captain Schmeg to the inside. Hash tries to cover, but it's too late. Captain Schmeg is there, and he's through into P9. Oh, ghosting there for Hash for some reason, as Blacks is overtaken by Sir Jake. So, Sir Jake into P7. Huh. I was just a bit put off with that bit of ghosting there. I have no idea why the Ferrari was ghosting. Quite strange. Hash is down in P11 now. Bit of work to do. Black's closing in on Sir Jake, heading down towards turn 17. Not by enough to attack. But he is close. He is awfully close. Oh, as Motion God almost puts it into the wall on the outside of 17 there. No, it's still JBH who leads. 2.3 seconds is the gap between the top two. Guitar Hero is next in P8. He's in the top 3. Blockman is next in 4th. Then Rebellion. Renner Jr. is next in P6. Then Sir Jake. Then Blacks in P8. Bit of a train for me behind Renner Jr. now. So we should have some interesting battles beginning soon. Guitar Hero though. You'll have DRS on Mighty Wombat. He'll close the gap. DRS opens or not. Well, he must have DRS. He's got so much more straight line speed. He powers past Guitar Hero. Down the inside. Wombat can't fight back. Down into turn 11. What's ghosting? You can just drive through people. What the hell? What is happening out here? Got drivers driving through one another? What's going on? Don't think either of these guys are in AI. There's one really easy way to check. And that is noticing telemetry. We're going to have to make a new lobby. I have no idea what on earth is going on. Are cars ghosting through one another? Yeah, that's not right. Yeah, no, someone's got to make a decision soon. Rather not leave it too late with the decision. I'll keep an eye on the Discord while I'm at it. I've got to do a lot of multitasking here. Okay, I see the restart call from KD. Yeah, right on. Yeah, new lobby will be made, I guess. Yeah, this is a new one. See Motion God just driving through. I've gotten the invite from KD. We'll hop out of this lobby and hop into the new one, I suppose. No idea what's happened. Didn't get any prompts at the bottom either of people leaving the session if people did leave, so. But yeah, I wonder how they'll set up the grid as well. Will they set it up determining from the sprint race results, or will they determine it from when the red flag, quote unquote, was called? That'll be the next thing to work out. Do you determine it from sprint race grid, or do you determine it from when the restart session was called? Oh, going to spectate. There we are. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. No, that's a new one. With reversing off the line, just stuck in reverse gear. That's a new one. Yeah, it's unfortunate, Guitar Hero. I understand the pain, but unfortunately these things happen. So these things happen. Yeah, quite right. Manu, make sure the cinematic safety car stuff is off. Last time that happened to me, it it confused the hell out of me. I thought it might have been the game breaking on me, but no, it was the safety car periods were put onto broadcast, which were got to experience that for the first time. So yeah. Oh no. We get to do it all over again. Have a look around Katie's house. Toggle the driver list. Take a look around. Aston Martin safety car there. DB11 in front of the foliage side of the house. Everyone wearing aviators. Everyone wearing aviators. So Jake, isn't he? He's just got a cap on. No one wants to hang around the 720S. Big sad for the McLaren. Nobody likes it. There's the Mercedes safety car. But, there's the AMG GTR Black Series. Lovely looking blue though, actually. I quite like that blue. Oh. Yeah, quite right. Blacks. It's quite incredible what D-Sync can do. Yeah, I get it. There's plenty of sunlight getting into the house, but you're indoors. Stop wearing sunnies. You don't need them. I also like how it's daytime, right? Okay, and you got all this sunlight pouring into the room, right? The lights are still on in the ceiling and the lamps. They're all still on. See, look. They're all still on. Why do you need the lights to be on? You're just wasting electricity at this point, man. I mean, I get it. They're Formula 1 drivers. They're loaded. Well, the really good Formula 1 drivers are loaded. But, still. Miami, yeah, fair. And nothing in the trophy cabinet either. That's the same with all of us, I think. I don't think any of us have got anything in our trophy cabinet. Too busy playing my team and finishing last in every race. Well, that's just me. Anyway. Oh. Yeah, this might take a little while because to get the grid sorted. You can see the custom weather icon as well, so yeah, nice and dry all the way through. Everybody likes that. Now, any driver in the chat who's watching, make sure you put a setup on. Put a setup on. You won't have a setup when you load up. You'll have a default, and default at times isn't too bad, but it just won't have the outright speed of a custom setup. So make sure you put it on. One wearing a hooded sweatshirt. I don't know, everyone here wearing t-shirts and jeans. Black Bull. Standing in the sun, no less. Well, he's got tracksuit pants on, plus a sweater, and he's standing in the sun. Man does not give... he doesn't give a damn. Alright, everyone's getting ready. No, you gotta respect that. Man wearing a jumper, tracksuit pants, standing in the sun. Because he's that much of a Chad. Nah, that used to be a thing, Blacks. Where, that would be a problem. When you restart the lobby, you weren't able to join the session unless you had to restart your game properly. That was the issue. It seems that Cody's have fixed that particular problem, but there are still like a metric ton of issues in this game. There's a lot of issues in this game. And we've just seen a few of them literally about 10 minutes ago. So yeah, it really doesn't like you jumping from session to session, yeah. Sometimes it really doesn't. But hopefully it doesn't screw any of us over. Hopefully. We should be alright though. Should be alright. As you can see, clear skies as it should be. I can see medium tyres in Black Baller's garage. I can't see anybody else's tyres though. So I can't pick up on who's on what strategy. But yeah, remember, put the setup on. Someone's gone pretty early. Hopefully they got a setup. All I can say. But yeah, no setup usually equals no speed. Which also tends to equal frustration. Like a lot of frustration. So. Alrighty. 10 seconds to go to the third formation lap of this race session that we're having. Hopefully this is our final formation lap. So Nico takes off from pole, Mighty Wombat P2. Might have to keep my eyes towards the front of the field this time. Because yeah, a lot of drama kicked off at the front that I didn't manage to catch. So I'm going to keep my eyes on the front this time. So Nico will start from pole on the medium tyre, Wombat P2 on the hard tyre. Rafa has elected to change his mind. He's now on the hard compound tyre in P3. He was on the mediums last time around. So he's decided to change his mind, which I don't think should be an issue. I think. Blockman will start P4, then JBH P5 on the mediums. Katie's next in P6, followed by Collider in 7th. Axis in P8, they're on the hard tyre. Guitar Hero in 9th, starting on the mediums. Black's P10 on the hard tyre, then Jake P11 on the hard tyre, sorry. Rebellion P12 on the hard tyre. Shizm P13 on the mediums. And everyone else behind, Renner Jr., Captain Schmeck, Hash, Black Baller, and Motion God. They will be starting on the hard compound tyre. So it's not a 50-50 split this time around. 4 drivers are on the mediums. 14 drivers are on the hards. So yeah, it's not quite as even now. So a lot of drivers favouring to start on the hard compound tyre rather than on a set of mediums. See leaders, everybody trying desperately to get temperature into their tyres as they head down towards the hairpin of turn 17. Now Nico, he'll be starting on the racing line and he's on the softer compound tyre, which means he should get a better start. But if he doesn't get a great start, Wombat will have the inside line to turn 1. There is the predicted pit stop strategy. So pit window is about lap 16 to 23. Good to know. So Nico taking it easy, lining it up into his slot. Nicely done there. Wombat, he's lined up ready to race. Same with Rafa and Blockman. Just waiting on these fellas. Shizan has been disqualified. He overshot his pit box. So, pit box. He overshot his starting grid box. Not pit box. His grid box. But everyone's now ready to race. For the third time, we've got 10 red lights. And we're underway once again here at Miami, and it's a nice start from Rafa in P3 as the leaders head down to turn 1 for the first time, as JBH trying to go for a move down the inside of turn 1. Couldn't get it done. Around turn 2 they go, heading up towards turn 3. JBH trying to fight Mighty Wombat there. Couldn't quite get in front though, as they head out of the right-hand sweeper, up towards turn 4 as Captain Schmeg has left the session. Through turn 4, into turn 5. JBH putting up a hell of a fight. Around turn 6, Wombat gets in front, and he should get P2, and he does get P2. He should keep it out to turn 8 as well, and does so. JBH though on the attack, he is pushing hard, trying to find a way by the McLaren. Meanwhile, Axis and KD are battling for position as they head around turn 10 up towards turn 11. There might have been contact between the two cars, I'm not sure. Heading up towards the tight left-hander. KD has the inside line, he breaks Steve, he gets in front, and he should get P5. Does get P5. Black's battling as well with Blockman. That's for P7. Black's looking around the long way. That turns to the inside. At 13, it's tight. They're side by side into 14. Blockman has to cut a fair bit of the chicane. They're still trying to battle into turn 16 as Black gets in front into P7. Meanwhile, Collider behind, trying to close in. Renner Jr. and Guitar Hero battling for position as they head down the long straightaway towards turn 17. Blockman trying to follow Blacks. I reckon he was thinking about going for a move there, but didn't fully commit to it. But Guitar Hero, he gets in front of Renner Jr. Renner trying to fight back though. He has the inside line at turn 19. And the Ferrari gets in front, back into P10. Guitar Hero looking left and right to try to find a way by. Rebellion goes into the pits. So not everyone got through the first lap scot-free. Rebellion got into trouble. That's massively unfortunate for him. But out in front, it's Nico in the lead. 1.3 seconds in front of Mighty Wombat. Yellows are out. It's Rafa spinning. This is at turn 7. He'll have to rejoin all the way down the order. He's having a hard time turning the car. Gets going. He's down in 17th position. Very, very similar to what happened during the first main race. Spinning out at turn 16. Destroying his race. This time it's happened at turn 7. A massive blow for him. Oh, this midfield pack though, battling nicely. Good to see. As they head down the long straightaway towards turn 17. Now, looking down the inside, Collider trying to make a move here. Can't quite get it done. Oh, but Blockman left room. Renner Jr. closes in. Heading around turn 18. Around turn 19. And onto the main straightaway. Renner Jr. looking to the inside here. Dives it in deep. Gets in front. But does he overshoot turn 1? He almost does. Collider draws alongside. Heading around turn 3. Guitar Hero is now involved. He's going to try and get by the Alpine here. Around the outside of turn 3. Heading up towards turn 4. The left-hander. Collider, can he hang on? He runs a bit wide. Guitar Hero trying to fight. And here comes Shizen. Couldn't quite find a way by. The door was shut on him by Collider in the Alpine. Yellow flags are out. It's Hash in the Ferrari, spinning in a similar style to Rafa. He falls down to 16th position. Captain Schmeg has now rejoined the session. He's now behind Shizen, closing the gap. Shizen's closing the gap to Collider. Trying to look down the inside here as KD gets a 3-second time penalty. Two cars leave room. Fair play, fair game. KD and Axis, these two are battling for position. Black's just behind in the Red Bull as they head around turn 16 and on to the long straightaway up towards 17. Now it's lap 3, so DRS is enabled. Axis pulls away by 8.5 tenths down this straightaway. KD doing his best not to dump any battery, but Black's is closing in. He looks to the inside. Oh, KD shuts the door hard, but overshoots the corner. Goes straight on, and through goes Blacks into P5. Now Blockman tries to get by. Around the outside at the final corner. Katie has got no battery to spend, and as a result, Blockman moves into P6. Oh, but Katie tries to fight down the inside of turn 1. They're side by side at corner exit, but Blockman has the traction, and he keeps P6. Meanwhile, Shizant and Collider change places. Collider's down to 11th position, losing a ton of time to the Red Bull driver, who now has his sights set on the Aston Martin in front. KD, his battle is not over. He's trying to keep up with Blockman. He's half a second behind. You can see the flashing red lights at the back of the car as they head on to this flat-out section. KD, no battery to spend whatsoever. You can only use DRS to close in on Blockman. Not closing in by enough to attack here into turn 11. 3/10 behind. Can't do it. Meanwhile, out in front, the train is forming. Nico's at the front of it. Wombat and JBH are right behind. Heading down this long straightaway once again. Down towards turn 17. Now, Wombat closes in 10th by 10th. More and more. Heading down towards turn 18. Turn 17, rather. He won't close in by enough to attack the race leader. Not just yet. But he's putting himself into a really nice position here. Coming out of the final corner down the main straightaway. The gap shrinks up a bit more, down to 3/10 as Axis sets a new fastest lap. Shizant gets by Guitar Hero. That would have been at 17. So Shizant's now into P9. Next target on his hit list is Renner Jr. in the Ferrari. KD still in P7. Blockman next, then Blacks. Then Axis. 4.1 seconds is the gap between Axis and JBH, who is still in P3, just hovering behind Mighty Wombat, who is trying to close the gap to the race leader Nico. He's using up a bit of battery here out of turn 8, heading around turn 9. He'll open DRS, head around turn 10. Up towards turn 11. Look at the closing speed as he looks to the inside here. Into turn 11. He gets in front of Nico and takes the race lead. A fine move. Oh, yellows are out. It's Black Baller in the Mercedes-Benz. Spinning out. Damage as well. You can see a piece of wing sitting on the racetrack as he spins again. And a reset to circuit there. Get himself pointed back in the right direction. Oh, as Rafa and Hash collide there at turn 11 at the entry. Coming around turn 12 now. Oh, Rafa trying to fight. Hash leaves room, but the Ferrari man will stay in front, I would think. Oh, no, he lets Rafa back through. Interesting. Oh, as Rafa almost puts it into the wall there. Coming out of the chicane. Meanwhile, Wombat still leading the way. Nico losing time to JBH. Here comes the Mercedes. Down the main straight, looking to the inside here at turn 1. Can he get through? Contact between the two cars. Nico runs wide, costing him precious tenths, and falls outside of that critical 1 second range to Mighty Wombat. Yeah, JBH trying to have a go at turn 1. Couldn't really commit to the move, and as a result, he and Nico made contact. Now Nico gets back within 1 second. He's now 8/10 behind. Demonstrating the pace that he's got in that AlphaTauri. Through this flat-out section around turn 9. Yellows are out. It's Collider in the Alpine. Spinning. That's at turn 5. And here comes Motion God as Black Baller's retired in the pit lane. He's had enough for tonight, and I do not blame him one bit. Yellows still being out sector 3, and here comes Shizant on Renner Jr. around the outside. He gets him before the braking zone. Shizant's into P8. Blockman still working away at that gap to Blacks. Axis is closing in on the top 3. He was, last time I checked, 4.1 seconds behind. He's now 2.8 seconds behind as JBH is closing in down this straightaway towards the hairpin of 17. Down the inside he goes. This time he gets through. Can Nico fight back? The answer appears to be no. Nico stays in P3. Yeah, Nico doesn't appear to have a great deal of speed underneath him right now. He's used a lot of his battery as well as Shizant and Renner battling once again. Contact between the two cars. there at turn 19. Neither car has DRS. Shizen trying to have a go down the inside into turn 1. Sends it in real deep. Oh, and he cuts in front of Renner. He had to check up the Ferrari driver. Otherwise, there would have been contact. Now that brings Guitar Hero into the fight. Around turn 3. Heading up towards turn 4. Guitar Hero looking to the right there. Trying to find an opening. But he couldn't get away by. He's stuck in P10. He spins actually into the wall. Destroying his front wing. A costly mistake, a simple mistake, and he drops down to P11, and he's going to drop down even further with wing damage. And Nico, he's gone back by JBH. He's back into P2, but because of their squabbling, Mighty Wombat now has a 2-second lead. Oh, yellows are out once again. It's Motion God in the Alfa Romeo, spinning at turn 7 and turn 8. It's going again, but he's now a long way behind. Really needs a safety car to try and save his race. Similar story with Rebellion down in P17. But Wombat with a comfy lead. Nico and JBH battling on track. JBH should get Nico quite easily. Does get Nico quite easily. Into turn 17. The Mercedes is in front. And there's Axis just behind. Closing in 10th by 10th. Corner by corner. He's getting himself involved in this fight. Down towards turn 1. Nico deep on the brakes. Almost goes into the back of the Mercedes there. At turn 1 through turn 2. Into turn 3. And up towards the S section. If we take a quick glance at telemetry, 20-odd% for Nico, 10% for JBH. Look at Axis doing a great job. 40% next to his name. So Axis has got a slight advantage in terms of battery. Nico doing his best to close in. Half a second is the gap. 6/10 now. Not using any battery. He'll open DRS. You can see the flashing red light at the back of the Mercedes-Benz. Nico closes in. Not by enough to attack here, but he could try and set something up into turn 17. Meanwhile, Axis is now within 1 second of the two cars in front. He is well and truly in this battle now as they head through 13, through the chicane of 14 and 15, clobbering over those curbs. Around 16, onto the straightaway. Gets a nice run there, Axis. Lovely drive out to the left-hander, and he'll get DRS. Something he's been looking for a few laps now. Nico, he won't be close enough to attack here. Unlike Blockman, who's getting by Blacks into P5. Can't fight back, unfortunately. Doesn't have the momentum to fight back at turn 17. KD watching along in P7, doing the best he can. And here comes Blacks on the counter-attack. Trying to look around the long way here into turn 1. The Blockman parks his horse on the racing line, stopping Blacks in his tracks, as it were. Down towards the S section as Guitar Hero pits in through turn 4 into turn 5, now around turn 6 into turn 7 and turn 8. There is KD just behind. Not a great run out of turn 8 for Blacks, and here comes KD with a whole heap of speed. He'll have DRS here. He opens it. Speedo climbing over 200 miles an hour as they head down towards turn 11. Doesn't close in by enough, though, to attack. Speaking of which, JBH is under a bit of pressure now. Nico and Axis are right behind. Mighty Wombat is driving away out in front. A gap of 3.2 seconds. There he is at the front of screen. Then it's this three battling for P2 on track. Nico, he's too far away from JBH once again to attack here into turn 17. Really needs to prioritise a good exit out of 16. KD, he's close. Not close enough, though, to attack the Red Bull into the hairpin. Oh, he almost hit the Red Bull there on the brakes. Got awfully close. Around turn 18, up towards turn 19. Black's just about holding on as of right now. KD actually lost a fair bit of time through that final sector. Meanwhile, it appears the two... Hang on. Had to cough there. I've got something in my throat. Two Williams are starting to battle for position. P12 and P13 between Captain Schmeg and Rafa. What could have been for Rafa after a great qualifying and a great sprint. He's down in P13. Not where he wants to be. Nico on the attack here. It might be 3 wide, almost 3 wide. As Axis tried to have a go on Nico there, couldn't quite get it done. Sparks flying from underneath the Aston Martin as they head around turn 12 into turn 13. Through the chicane. Nico, he needs a good exit here. Out of 16. Can he get it? It's not bad. Using some battery as well. JBH not using any battery in response. Can Nico get by? He's closing in bit by bit. He can see the flashing red light. And he can see Axis coming. Looks to the inside. Doesn't commit to the move though. Didn't have enough momentum to really get it done there. So Axis rather wisely stays behind. Around the final corner. Onto the main straightaway. Axis has got to run. Nico knows it, so he covers the inside. Axis looking around the long way here at turn 1. Oh, and Nico! Wow, he goes straight off at turn 1. Wow, we overshot it and then some. So Axis is into third. Nico is now 1.8 seconds behind in fourth. Now Axis, he's got his sights set on the Mercedes-Benz in front of him. JBH with a margin of 0.8. That's going to shrink thanks to DRS. And as you can see, Axis 44% battery compared to JBH with only 11. Here comes the Aston Martin. He looks to the outside as a Ferrari has spun. I think that's Sir Jake. Around turn 11. Oh, running wide is JBH. Looking around the outside is Axis. Can't quite get it done. It turns to the inside. Heading into the chicane. Axis has to back out. And Nico is closing in. 10th by 10th as these two battle. Out to 16. Heading down the straightaway. Big wiggle from Nico and a big weave from JBH. Desperately trying to break the toe as they head down the straightaway towards turn 17. The gap shrinks to 2/10. The gap shrinks to 1/10. And then Axis slingshots by into P2. JBH trying to fight though. At the exit of 17, he can't do much. Axis has got the traction. Axis is into P2. JBH trying to look down the inside here at turn 1. They're side by side, heading around turn 2. Giving each other just enough room. Oh, using all of the inside of the racetrack there, JBH. But he's got traction. And I think he's going to try and fight this at turn 4. Oh, he tried. He desperately tried. But he just didn't have the grip and he didn't have the line. So he had to give in and stay in third. But this battling has brought Nico back into this fight. And it's going to introduce Blockman in P5. He's 9/10 behind Nico. He'll get DRS down this next DRS zone. Yeah, he's got it and he's going to close in. Meanwhile, out in front, Wombat's just minding his own business, doing his own thing. Keeping out of trouble. He's got almost a 7-second gap to P2. Doing absolutely what he needs to do out in front. Drive cleanly. Drive sensibly. Keep up a nice pace. Gap between JBH and Axis has increased to 1 second. I don't think JBH is getting DRS. He does not have DRS. Uh-oh. This is not good for JBH. Because he's going to be losing time to Axis. And those behind him are going to close in. KD looking to the inside here. Goes under brakes. Contact between the two cars. He went awfully deep there. Awfully deep as JBH pits in. Hard tyres at the ready. Up go the jacks. On go the hard tyres. And away he leaves. He's the first driver to blink. He's going to try and undercut. Not a bad decision either because he was going to be left in everybody's wake without DRS. So you might as well pit now, get it over and done with. Oh, and now he's in the clutches of Sir Jake. Sir Jake closing in. Not by enough to attack here at turn 4. Not that you really want to attack into turn 4 anyway. But you can see the grip difference of a tyre that's just come out of the pits compared to a tyre that's done 12 racing laps. That new tyre on JBH's car will take about half a lap to get up to temperature, as Blacks gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. And towards turn 11, so Jake not closing in by enough here to attack. But if he gets a nice run through this section, he might be able to attack down the long straightaway into turn 17. Blockman closing in on Nico, fully utilising the DRS advantage. There's Axis and P2. This is the battle for third as Nico pits in. He's decided to blink. Our championship leader is into pit lane. Went into neutral just briefly there. Downshifted one too many gears. And he comes. Hard tyres at the ready. On they go. Away he leaves. And where will he come out relative to JBH? JBH is coming around the final corner. Now Nico will essentially cut all of turn 1. Here we go. Coming out of the pits now. There is Nico. Here is JBH around turn 3. Now Nico needs to be wary. Those tyres won't feel too good for at least half a lap. JBH, meanwhile, his tyres are up to temperature through turn 5 into turn 6. JBH can line up an overtake here. Oh, yellows are out. It's Rafa in the Williams spinning at turn 3. Gets going again, but he's down in 14th position. Here comes JBH in the Mercedes. He'll open DRS, draw alongside the AlphaTauri and pass him with ease. So JBH gets back out in front of Nico. Nico doesn't really have much of a tyre advantage with 1 lap fresher tyres. It's not a massive one. He just needs to stay behind JBH, get those tyres up to temperature, and if he can, get by as soon as possible. KD still battling with Blacks and P5. Into the pits goes Blockman. The Haas driver is in. He'll get off his hard compound tyres and onto a set of mediums. They should easily make it to the end of the race from here. So the race is on in terms of strategy. It's definitely on. Now where will Blockman come out relative to JBH and Nico? Blockman's still in pit lane. But remember, he gets to cut all of turn 1. Here comes Blockman out of the pits. It's going to be tight. He'll come out in front of Nico. Only just though. Around turn 3, Nico, he had a run, but Blockman shut the door. The Blockman will stay in P7 for now, but his tyres are cold. And here comes Nico with a whole heap of speed, but with nowhere to go. He has to stay behind. Out of 8, heading up towards the fast right-left of 9 and 10. Half a second is the gap. Motion God has had a moment in the final sector coming into pit lane. Motion God gets a 5-second time penalty for speeding as well. Surprised to see during this race we haven't had a single safety car as of yet. Not one. You'd think with a track as demanding as this one would see more, but no. After what is now 15 laps, as Mighty Wombat has just started lap 16. Well, it's been 15 laps of green flag running. Everybody has kept it under control. Only one retirement, which is Black Baller. As Blacks, oh, something's happened here with Blacks. He went into pit lane in an unorthodox manner. Oh, and Shizant is in as well. It's going to be a double stack for Red Bull. You can see a front wing change for Blacks too. So have KD and Blacks come together, or has Blacks lost it at turn 18? I'm not sure. Yeah, this is going to hurt Shizant. He's come into pit lane at the wrong time. He needed to do at least one more lap, I think. Into the pits goes Rebellion to get off these mediums. To another set of tyres, a set of softs. He's going to try and drag those to the end of the race. Meanwhile, JBH at the front of this queue, battling with Blockman and Nico. And here comes Blockman with DRS, using whatever battery he's got left. He's going to draw alongside JBH, looking around the outside. Sends it in deep. This will turn into the inside at turn 12 for Blockman. JBH trying to fight around a long way. That turns to the inside at 13. Up towards the chicane. A great bit of driving from both of them, to be honest. No contact. Room was given. Plenty of respect was shown. And JBH ends on to 4th place. There's Sir Jake in the background in P7. Captain Schmeg not too far behind. Same with SC Collider in 9th. Down the straightaway towards turn 17. Blockman closing in. KD's into the pits. Blockman looking around the long way here at 17. Coming out of the hairpin. Does he have the drive? Does he have the power? The answer is not quite. He has to stay in P5 for now. Up towards turn 1. Blockman looking around the outside once again. This time at turn 1. JBH trying to fight. Can't get it done though. Blockman has the traction on the outside line. On that medium compound tyre. He takes P3. KD come out battling with Captain Schmeg here around turn 3. Captain Schmeg gets in front. KD, he needs to get those tyres up to temperature. Collider is right behind him. Through turn 4, look at the understeer. Through turn 5, into turn 6. Needs to be careful. Can't push too hard. Oh, plenty of understeer there. Desperately trying to find traction. DRS now for JBH, but he's got no battery to spend. Try and close that gap. Nico hovering behind in P5. Meanwhile, Axis P2. He's closed in by about a second to Mighty Wombat, who is still running out on track on those hard compound tyres. He might be thinking about pitting onto the soft tyre rather than a set of mediums. Into the pits goes Axis. He's blinked. The man in P2 is in. Meanwhile, Shezant and Jake have changed places. Shezant's into P11. Renner Jr. in front of Rafa as well. Rafa and Guitar Hero are battling for the final point scoring spot. Axis meanwhile has moved on to a set of mediums. Blockman's coming out of the final corner. Down the main straightaway he goes towards turn 1. Axis is now leaving pit lane. So Axis has got a pretty comfortable gap to Blockman. About 3 seconds. Yeah, it looks like about 3 seconds. 2.5 now. That should give ample time for Axis to get those tyres up to temperature. For Blockman, what might not be a bad idea is pushing quite hard to try and close the gap up to within a second of Axis to get within DRS range. It'll help him out quite a bit as Schmeg and Collider pit as well. Bring up the tyre graphics, see what they move on to. Set of mediums for Schmeg, set of mediums for Collider as well. 1.3 seconds is the gap between Axis and Blockman. Can Blockman close up within this Mickey Mouse section of the racetrack around turn 11? Up towards turn 12. Gap 1.5 seconds. He's not closing in. Into the chicane. Turns 14 and 15 as Captain Schmeg has left the session. Hopefully he can rejoin as soon as possible. As Mighty Wombat, our race leader, has finally pit. And Axis, he's got car speed over Blockman. He's pulling away. A set of what? A set of mediums for Mighty Wombat. So he's not going to push onto the soft tyre. He's going to take a more conservative approach and put on the mediums. Axis making his way around the final corner onto the main straightaway. To begin lap 19 of 29, we've got 11 laps to go. Mighty Wombat is out in front with a comfortable margin. The gap is 5.5 seconds. The undercut has worked somewhat for Axis. It's worked quite nicely. Closed in the gap by a considerable margin. But he's still got a lot of work to do to catch up to the McLaren driver out in front. So Jake closing in on Hash. The battle is on for P9 as Rafa pits in to get off those hard compound tyres onto a fresh set of more than likely mediums. We'll wait and see. Battles on here between Guitar Hero, Rebellion and Collider. He actually decides to pit onto a set of softs. Fair play. Through turn 4. Around turn 5, Guitar Hero looking a bit loose. Around turn 6. Here comes Rebellion down the inside. And through he goes into P13. Guitar Hero left the door open. But he's now got a decent run out of turn 8. But he elects to let Collider through into P14. Catherine Schmeg has rejoined the session. DRS open for Collider and Guitar Hero heading up towards turn 11. Collider gets around the long way. Guitar Hero tries to follow suit. He tries to look to the inside here of Collider at turn 11, but couldn't get it done. He stays in P14. Collider in P13. Axis with a new fastest lap. He's pushing like a bat out of hell to try and catch up to the race leader. Nico and JBH having a battle for P4 now as Blockman pulls away in P3. It's looking like a podium finish here for the Haas driver. Axis, the gap now 3.7 seconds. We've got about 10.5 laps of racing left. Can Axis do it? He needs to push like crazy. Can he do it? See the position changes. Axis up 6 positions. He and Hash made up the most positions out of everybody. Hash up 6 as well. Shizant up 5. Black's up 3. Same with Renner Jr. and Captain Schmeg. Yeah, Axis has made the most of this restart. It was looking like no points after his disqualification during the first race, after his car was mysteriously in reverse gear. Now he's looking at a podium. Could it be more than just a podium, though? We'll have to wait and see. Renner Jr., Captain Schmeg battling for position as they head around turn 12. Schmeg looking around the outside. That turns to the inside at 13. It's tight. They get through, and Renner Jr. hangs on. New fastest lap from Axis again. 1 minute 30.082. Down this long straightaway, Renner Jr. You'll have DRS thanks to his teammate, which will help him out. Captain Schmeg, though, is right in the toe, but he's not closing in. In fact, Renner Jr. is closing in on his teammate by quite a few tenths, but not by enough to attack into the hairpin. Meanwhile, actually, we'll just keep an eye on this because Renner's still close. Here comes Renner Jr. You'll have DRS. Down the inside, he looks into turn 1, and through he goes. Nice move. Well done from Hash here, holding up Captain Schmeg, who goes round the outside at turn 3. Ha! Not a bad move there at all. And the Williams driver, fully committed on the outside line, drove it round, made it stick. Credit to him. Didn't think he would get that done. Oh, he's trying to make a move here at turn 8. Tried to create a move down the inside there at the left-hander, but couldn't really get it done. But now he'll have DRS through this section. He used up his battery as well. 202 miles an hour versus 208. Yellow flags are out as well. It's Motion God in the Alfa Romeo bringing them out. Around turn 12. Up towards 13. Then into the chicane for 14 and 15. I think he'll be able to line up and overtake now. Oh, not anymore. Making a mistake at turn 16. Losing the back end. Losing a few of those critical tenths. There's Hash behind. Losing time to these two. Able to close in. Blockman now with a 3-second time penalty. Ouch. Now he has to worry about the gap to P4. It's currently sitting at 4 seconds. So he's got margin in hand. But he needs to not get too complacent. Needs to stay focused and keep pushing. And he needs to hope that Nico starts battling JBH. So Nico not using DRS for whatever reason. No idea why he was not using DRS. Renner Jr. is out of the race. He is out of the race. He has crashed out. And we have a safety car. There he is there. In the inside, rather the right-hand side wall. At turn 6. See Guitar Hero almost coming to a stop there to avoid getting a penalty. But Renner, I think that's an identical accident to what happened during qualifying, if I recall correctly. It was some time ago when qualifying happened, but I think that's the same accident. Into the pits goes Wombat. Into the pits goes Axis. Blockman elects to stay out. He'll take track position. JBH comes in. Nico's in. KD is in. Blacks is in. Shizant. We'll have to wait a little while for Shizant. But all of them are moving on to soft tyres. All of them. They have 3 sets available to use. Gotta use them. Blockman has been disqualified from the session. He's overtaken the safety car. Oh, dearie me. He's made a complete mess of that. He's passed the safety car and he's disqualified himself. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Why did you do that? Pass the safety car. I'll be. Alright. Blockman's not our leader anymore. It's Mighty Wombat. And it's now going to be a proper fight at the front. This is on. This was looking like victory for Mighty Wombat. It really was looking like that. He was keeping a good pace. Axis was fast, but he wasn't closing in by, I think, enough. Now Axis has the opportunity to take a race win here at Miami. JBH is in this. Nico is in this. I would say KD and Blacks are as well, but they've got time penalties next to their names. It's going to hurt them quite a lot in the final results when everybody catches up. Going to take a little while for everybody to catch up, though. Take a look at that penalty graphic. KD was 6 seconds. Blacks with 3. Captain Schmeg with a 5-second time penalty next to his name. And you can see with the position changes, a lot of drivers have gained. Not too many have lost. Nico's lost 3 from pole position. Collider down 5, Rebellion down 1, Rafa down 11. A huge blow for him. But now he has the chance to recover a better result. With the retirements that we've had 3 retirements. It means that everybody who finishes now will score points. Everyone. Where's Motion God in all of this? He separates JBH and Axis. So Motion God, he needs to get a move on the restart and try and not compromise those behind him if he can. Let's see. Oh, right. Safety car should be in this lap. It is in this lap. So everybody, strap yourselves in. We got to sprint to the flag. And Motion God's trying to slow down to let everyone through. I mean, I get it, but that's why yeah, this is going to create a mess, Motion God. Get on with it. Don't ever do that. JBH is... Yeah, look, that's the problem with pulling off to the side. You can't do that. Oh, goodness. We're back on the green flag racing here at Miami. Goodness me, some drivers just make me just question my sanity. Through turn 1, up towards turn 2. Mighty Wombat with a 6/10 margin. Yellows are out. It's Motion God stopping. Trying to get out of everybody's way. Gee whiz. Through turn 4, into turn 5. Around turn 6 as Shizant overtakes Guitar Hero. Oh, it's Captain Schmeg. Something's happened here. Yeah, he spun at turn 3 and he's angry and he's put it into the wall. He is quite frustrated. Wombat pushing hard. So is Axis. Trying to make the most of the laps remaining in this race. Yellows are out. That is Hash, I believe. Bringing yellows out. Around turn 11. Around turn 12. The gap is 1 second between the top two. What can Axis do? Now, unfortunately, for these guys behind, they've got 5-second time penalties because Motion God decided to stop, try and let everyone through, which he should not have done. Yellows are out. It's Rebellion spinning. This is at turn 15, entering 16. Yellow, front wing damage as well for Rebellion. That's going to hurt just as much as a spin. Axis setting a new fastest lap, 29.2. As the battle is well and truly on for the race win. Through turn 2, around turn 3. Up towards the S section, turns 4, 5 and 6. Through 5. Up into 6, Captain Schmega, 3-second time penalty. Wombat building up that margin back to 1 second. Proving he's pretty quick through the first sector, but Axis has got some serious speed down the straightaways. KD, another 3-second time penalty. Just adding on to the time penalties he's already got. 203 miles an hour compared to 205 from Axis. JBH still hanging on to third. Nico right behind. Blacks and KD battling for P5 on track. Then it's a bit of a gap back to Sir Jake and P7. Then Shizant. They're battling for position out there. Axis 8/10 behind as they head down the straightaway towards turn 17. Axis doing all he can to keep within that 1 second range. Wombat has got pace in that McLaren. Round turn 17. Up towards turn 18. Collider and Guitar Hero change places. Collider's into 9th. DRS is now enabled. Can Axis stay within range? He's 6/10 behind. Through turn 1. Into turn 2. And around turn 3. Not the greatest of runs. He loses a little bit of time. But he switches on the battery to try and recover. Around turn 4. Up towards turn 5. And into the triple left of 6. Then turn 7. Then turn 8. Wombat's been given a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. He's run wide at turn 7 and it's cost him. It has well and truly cost him. Unless Axis himself makes a mistake. It's now the Aston Martin's driver. It's his chance to win. Oh, dearie me. A final sting in the tail. But we still got a few laps to go. About 2 1/3 as Blacks gets a 3-second time penalty. The penalties are coming. Down the straight towards turn 17. Axis is outside that 1 second range, but he knows he doesn't have to push. He doesn't have to drive 10/10 anymore. Nico, losing control is what he's doing there. Oh, he gathers it up. He's still going, but he lost time. Collider and Jake battling for position. Coming out to turn 17. That's not looking at Collider game. That was looking at Shizant. Out of the final corner, down the main straightaway towards turn 1. Now these guys quite in a position to attack just yet. Oh, Guitar Hero closing in, but not by enough. Through the triple left of 6, 7 and 8. Nico's applying the pressure still. Cannot find a way by. Axis is losing time. The gap now 1.5 seconds. He knows he can back off. Just stay within 3 seconds and you've done it. Yellows are out. Is that Guitar Hero? It is. Losing control, tumbling down the order. Oh, he almost put it into the wall there. Around turn 16 is Collider and Jake are still battling for position. This is on for 8th. Jake with the inside line at turn 12. Collider can't quite fight back at 13. So the Alfa Romeo driver hangs on to P8. Around turn 16. And down the long straightaway towards 17. Collider will have DRS here. Doesn't have a lot of battery to spend though, as KD and Blacks are battling still. Oh, as Black loses the back end. Has to cut the track. He cuts turn 19 as well. Trying to gather the car up. It's now the final lap. Lap 29 of 29 here at Miami. Oh, and a spin for Nico! The championship leader has blown it on the final lap and tumbles down to 6th position. Black's on the attack, trying to find a way by. Looking to the inside of turn 4. Can't get it done there. Cutting all of the track at turn 5. Around turn 6 he goes. Trying to keep the fight alive with KD. Only a sector and a half remains for the top 2. The gap sitting at 1.9 seconds. Unless Axis makes a mistake. Mighty Wombat is not winning this Miami Grand Prix. He has led every single lap, I'm pretty certain, or at least the majority of the laps here at Miami during this main race. He is driven superbly. But the win is ultimately going to be taken away from him, as Collider and Jake are still battling for P8 on track. 3 corners remain for the top 2. It's been a hell of an effort from Mighty Wombat. Definitely been the fastest driver today, but he's not going to be our race winner. He'll cross the line in first, but our victor for today is Axis in the Aston Martin. He wins the Miami Grand Prix, and JVH will end up finishing in 3rd. KD will cross the line in 4th, then Blacks, then Nico. He will actually jump up to P4 thanks to time penalties. Actually, Shizant will end up finishing in P4 thanks to the time penalties. There you go. So Jake will finish in P6, then Collider. Then Rafa recovers to 8th. But I imagine a lot of those 5-second time penalties will be put under review. So don't expect these results to stay as they are heading into next week. Driver of the day has been given to Shizant. I disagree. I think it's our race winner who's our driver of the day. Recovered nicely after what happened during qualifying. Recovered to the top 10 during the sprint. And then won the Grand Prix. No doubt in my mind who's driver of the day. Now, an excellent performance from Mighty Wombat. But ultimately time penalties were put in P2. JBH, after an awesome effort in the sprint, will end up finishing 3rd here at Miami. So, the unofficial results of the Miami Grand Prix. Axis, our race winner with fastest lap as well, taking a full complement of points here in the main race. Mighty Wombat will end up finishing P2 after an awesome effort out in front. Ultimately, he was put in P2 thanks to a time penalty. JBH P3 completing the podium. Behind him is Shizant in P4, then Nico P5, then Sir Jake, Collider, Rafa, KD, and Guitar Hero will round out the top 10. Rebellion's next, followed by Blacks, then Hash, Captain Schmeg, Motion God, Blockman, disqualified rather, Renner crashed out, and Black Baller was our first retirement of the race. Yeah. Oh. What an interesting race session this was. To be honest, Miami turned it on over this week of racing here on Race Spec Esports. It was a lot of fun, I'd say. So, I know, a lot of fun. I quite enjoyed that. Oh, and I think after that long one, after 3 long ones to be fair, time to wrap everything up. 'Twas good today. 'Twas quite good. Even with the glitch that we had during the first main race, managed to clean it up rather quickly, and we got into the second one, and we had a pretty good race all around. It was a pretty fun session. But I think, everyone, with everything said and done, it's time for us to end the stream. Oh, I'm exhausted from that, to be honest. Yep. I've been Lane Everingham. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you next week for round 5 of the championship at Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, for the Spanish Grand Prix. See, it's definitely one of the more boring racetracks in real life, but in the video game world, Barcelona can definitely turn it on. So I'm looking forward to next week. But until then, it's goodbye.